Shalom everybody, it's me, Twist1223, back with another video. In this video I just going to show you the results of 4 political tests that I've done online. The first one is called I Side With, and it determines the party and the candidate you side with the most. Right here, and it puts the percentage of the issues you agree on. So the candidate I agree with the most is Darrell Castle. This is for the 2016 election. These are the candidates that actually made it to the end. So 80% for Darrell Castle, 71% Donald Trump, 41% for Gary Johnson, 39% for Evan McMullin, 20% for Rocky De La Fuente, 16% for Jill Stein, 13% transhumanist, and only 10% for Hillary Clinton. So up here, Darrell Castle I agree with on foreign policy, domestic policy, and education mostly. Donald Trump, education, foreign policy, and immigration. There's also dropped out candidates. The person I agree with the most here is still Darrell Castle, although he hasn't dropped out. He's still up here because I clicked this little box. Rand Paul is the one I agree with the most out of the dropped out candidates, so the second highest of everybody. Donald Trump 71. I agree with Rand Paul on science, foreign policy, education, domestic policy. Ted Cruz 68%. Marco Rubio 45%. Mike Huckabee 44%. Ben Carson 35%. All these people. And then down here, Lincoln Chafee, the Democrat, only 5%. I agree with them on no major issues, apparently. On no major issues. Anyway, so I guess I have party. The party I agree with the most on, the most issues I agree with on is the Constitution Party, 74%. Mostly on science, foreign policy, education, and immigration issues. Then the second is the Republican Party, 60%, and that's a tie with the Libertarian Party, working families, veterans. Apparently, I'm more of a socialist than a Democrat. And then women's equality is at the bottom. So this is isidewith.com. That's literally what it is. You can take a test to determine which issues you agree with for both party and the candidates, and also the vice presidents right here. Mike Pence 70%, Tim Kaine only 9%. 2012 election, 74% for Ron Paul. That's not surprising. So the next one is the Political Compass. This one's a little bit more popular. Right here is my stance, or where I am on the Political Compass. Authoritarian is up here. The left, or liberal, is right here. Right, conservative is over here, and libertarian is over here. So this is the economic scale, and this is the social scale. And I am pretty much almost in the center, except I'm leaning just a little bit to the right. So right here it says 0.38 for the right, which means that makes me a centrist. And 8 values is the next one. Economic access. It gives you 8 different values, which is equality, markets, world, nation, liberty, authority, progress, and tradition. And for the economic access, I am more towards the market. For the diplomatic access, it's balanced. However, I lean more towards nation over the entire world. Civil access, moderate, but I lean more towards authority than liberty, just a little bit. It's like almost in the center. And then societal access, traditional, a lot more of tradition than progress. So that puts me at moderate conservatism, apparently. And then Specker, which is the last one, that's where I am. It's kind of like another political compass, with just as authoritarian, libertarian, liberal, conservative, about the same. I'm right here, which is different from over there. There are a lot more questions on this one, and they're kind of different. So that puts me more over here. Economic 18, cultural -1. So a little bit more towards liberty on this one, and economic a lot more towards the right. So that puts me as a centrist. You respect as a centrist, apparently. It's called Specker.org. Specker.org. So that's it. That's where I side with. Oh, and down here, on isidewith.com, it also puts me on a little scale. That's where I am. So again, a centrist. And then political themes lean more towards unilateralism than multilateralism, which means I believe policy decisions should be made solely by those who are most affected by the outcome of the decision, despite opposition from those who are less affected or not affected by the outcome of the decision. In environmentalism versus anthropocentrism, I side with anthropocentrism, meaning I strongly believe humankind is a central element of existence, rather than the environment. Centralization versus decentralization, I side strongly towards decentralization. Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Acorn DV. Anyway, so strongly believe that administrative power and decision making should be handled at the local level and serve the best interests of the local community, and this theme is more important to me. Isolationism versus imperialism, I lean towards isolationism, meaning I believe we should focus attention on our most pressing issues at home instead of involving ourselves in non-threatening issues abroad. Pacifism versus militarism, I side slightly towards pacifism, meaning more often believe that we should use non-violent diplomatic discussion to resolve conflicts. Religious versus secular, side strongly towards religious, meaning I strongly support policies that reflect religious values and principles. Privacy versus security, more of privacy, meaning believe the government should not undermine the rights and privacy of its citizens under the guise of national security. Traditional versus progressive, lean towards traditional, meaning I believe we should be a civilized nation that honors traditional morals and values. Populism versus elitism, lean more towards populism, meaning more often believe decisions are made when everyone has a say. That's only slightly though. Multiculturalism versus assimilation, more of assimilation, meaning I believe we should have a unified culture. Collectivism versus individualism, I side strongly towards individualism, meaning I strongly support free market policies that create opportunity for personal liberty and success. Capitalism versus socialism, side strongly towards capitalism, meaning I strongly support an economic system that features private ownership of wealth. Tough versus tender, I lean more towards tough, meaning I believe in tough love and have little sympathy for those who break the law or make bad choices. Small government versus big government, side strongly towards small government, meaning I strongly believe the government is overly bureaucratic, inefficient, and wasteful. Regulation versus deregulation, side moderately towards deregulation, meaning I believe the government regulation stifles innovation and economic prosperity. Laissez-faire versus Keynesian, I side moderately towards laissez-faire, meaning I believe government intervention in economic markets leads to long-term negative results, and this theme is somewhat important to me. Globalization versus protectionism, and this is not the globalization I talk about normally on my channel. This is economic globalization, and I am a centrist, pretty much exactly in the middle. It says 2. I don't know which side that's leaning towards, but I'm a centrist on globalization and protectionism issues. So there's my results for these things, and that's all. Goodbye.